Okay, so now that I've kind of extended my image working with what was on the edge of the frame and drawing it out to be something that I've come up with my own imagination, of course sticking to the shapes and the lines that I kind of see here. I don't want a cloud that looks completely different than the clouds that I see here. I'm going to work with them and kind of continue with them as I make them bigger and flow out. Or these long ones, I'll continue with this. Obviously, I'm not going to continue a cloud that like looks like a round cartoon cloud because it would completely visually disconnect from other things in the picture. Okay, so I filled in roughly the lines that I want to continue. You don't have to go ahead and shade anything in or color anything in. You just want a rough kind of outline of what your plans are for the rest of the picture. I decided here, looking really close at my image, I noticed that there was like a little bit of sparkly water in here, but then it kind of looked like a big rock here. So I decided for mine, I want to create like a little narrow where it almost looks like a boat can go through here and then come out the other end. Okay, so I decided to make like this into this big rocky formation, okay? And then behind it, I'll have some rocks too, but I'm gonna have a tiny bit of water coming through here, right? And then it looks like this is the opening. So I've got this little rock kind of sinking into the water here, and then this big one. And then of course, this is all going to be water. I'm gonna continue the back silhouette here, some clouds and so on, and I'll finish it off like that, okay? So now my pencil work is lightly sketched in. I'm just going to go over it with some burnt umber. And burnt umber is a safe brown to go with for your underpainting because it's easy to cover up. So we're just basically going to use our paintbrush. It's a flat brush, remember, and if we use it lengthwise, we can get a nice skinny line, okay? So I'm just going to carefully go over all of my pencil work. Using my brush. I mentioned to the other class that if you go on and study illustration at the college or university level, your profs might invest in gouache. And gouache is like kind of like acrylic paint, which is what we're using now, kind of a plastic-based paint. However, it's like a watercolor paint too, where it's meant to be mixed with water. So it's really, really runny. And it's nice to do underpaintings with. You don't even have to use pencil because gouache is like a pencil. It's like a paint that is easily erased. So what we would do is, before we would go ahead and paint something, we would quickly do a sketch of what we wanted to paint on our canvas when I was at McMaster. And I would do it in brown gouache. And then if I didn't like it, I would just take a wet cloth and I would wipe it off, just like I would with an eraser and a pencil. So really fun to use, really loosey-goosey, and it's just meant to be for like a quick, rough underlining. We're not using gouache because it's a lot more expensive than this. And we can get away with just using pencil and acrylic for now. But again, if you really like painting or drawing after grade 9 art and you want to continue and explore different mediums, you might want to buy a tube of gouache. It's a lot of fun. So this painting is going to require tons of layering. It's not just going to be like coloring in a coloring book. It's going to be layer upon layer upon layer. So all of this is going to eventually get lost. But we're just going to use it as a guide for now. You guys don't have to move as fast as I'm moving. I'm kind of rushing just so that I can sneak this into a video format. You take your time. Again, I like to, because I have a bit of a shaky hand for an artist, I always like to plant a pinky somewhere where I know it's not going to smudge anything, so that part of my hand's touching the canvas. You might find that helpful if you have a shaky hand. There's like different things you can do to help stabilize your hand. Or sometimes it helps to grab lower, right, on the brush so that you have a bit more control as opposed to holding it further up and then having a lot of movement. Okay, keep in mind too when you're painting, this is small. This is a small surface, so you can turn it around while you're working on it to get into certain areas easier. And you're not pushing hard on your brush. You've got just a tiny bit of paint on it. And you're kind of got it angled so that you get a thin line and you're just lightly sketching over. Okay, girls. So you're thinking a lot about how you've used space when you filled in the rest of the picture. What you were doing while actively adding things was your mind was thinking, how am I going to fill this negative space and kind of balance out the image. So I decided, right, it looked like the clouds are kind of like funneling this way naturally. And then I could have just left this empty, but I felt like to balance out the picture visually, it needed an element of something here, right? So I decided to just do like one big loose cloud flying away. Or I could have left it empty, but I felt like that would balance out the picture. Balance out the positive and negative space on that side. Or, I mean, like, rather than doing a cloud, I could have balanced it out by doing like a big tree here. Like maybe another tree, like this. I'm starting to wonder whether I should have added another tree. I think I'm gonna leave it for now. I can always add one in as I go. Okay, so I went over all of my pencil just to lock it in, making sure that it doesn't smudge in with my nice blended colors later on as I add the rest of the layers to this painting. So I'm gonna break and let you guys finish and catch up. Again, you don't have to rush. I just rushed through it so that I could get it onto video.